morning. We make our beginning in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. One of the more popular things that my family likes to do, and attractions that they kind of like to watch on TV, is the TV show, The Great Christmas Light Fight. Season finale was last night. In case you were wondering, millions of people gather around the TV, watching, tuning in to see the glorious lights. Or, maybe more local, you've gone to this attraction, Candy Cane Lane in Dallas, to check out the lights. Now, unless you're this guy, right, everyone else likes Christmas lights. But you don't go to Candy Cane Lane during the daytime. And the great magnificent reveals of the great Christmas light fight is not done during the day. But rather these things are done and these attractions are seen at night for obvious reasons. Right? The beauty and brilliance of those magnificent lights, they cut through the darkness of the night. Today, we have a different Christmas light, if you would, for us to focus on today and admire a little bit more closely. Just like those Christmas lights on a house or on a tree, the beauty shines bright when it's dark. And so, during your cold, dark times in your hearts, this bright light that we're going to concentrate on today shines brightest. Here is our verse. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son and will call him Emmanuel. The brightness of this passage to which this prophecy was given, you need to know the context. And the context is one of darkness. And so let's take a look at this backdrop of this passage. It was during a time when this guy named King Ahaz was ruling Judah and God's people. And his resume wasn't the greatest. And the people were all too willing to follow along with whatever the leader was going to do. And so here, I'll just highlight some of the things and the dark paths that he led God's people down. He made idols for worshiping. As he was making these idols for worshiping, he was offering sacrifices all over his kingdom. And as part of his sacrifices, he willingly offered up his two sons as a living sacrifice to these gods, these Baals. And in the process, to ensure that other people would follow along with his lead, he decided to lock up the doors of the temple so that no one could worship the one true God. And to make sure that, again, the people were following what his orders were and made it easy for them to worship these idols, on every single street corner of Jerusalem, the holy city, he set up altars so that the people could also join in him and worship. Now, of course, God is not sitting idly by. He sends a little bit of a reminder to Ahaz, and Ahaz is in the midst of a war. Two neighboring countries attack and bring destruction upon him, all in an effort to try to get him to turn to God. However, Ahaz refuses. He doesn't want to listen to God. God sends the prophet Isaiah. He doesn't want to take the advice. He doesn't want God's help. Instead, he relies sinfully on himself. And he comes up with his own plan instead of God's plan. And he puts himself in charge and says, in order to save me from these people, I'm going to build an alliance with the Assyrians. And that doesn't go so well either. And so the Lord, in his great wisdom and his great grace, comes to his unfaithful people one last time, King Ahaz. And this is what he says. Again, the Lord spoke to Ahaz. Ask the Lord your God for a sign, or ask God for help. whether in the deepest depths or in the highest heights. But Ahaz said, I will not ask. Then Isaiah said, Hear now, you house of David. Is it not enough to try the patience of humans? Will you try the patience of my God also? Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin will be with child and will give birth to a son, and will call him Emmanuel. Dark times for Israel, but yet God, in his mercy, gives a brilliant, glorious light. Now, before we become too judgmental about Ahaz and the people of Israel, what does your own resume look like? What does your heart look like? Do some soul searching. You got some questions that you can just answer in your head, just to check. Where is our mind at? All right. Are all my words and actions announcing my amazement at God's grace? What am I doing to share God's grace with others? Are we locking the doors like Ahaz? What are we doing? What things do I need to surrender? Ahaz needed to surrender his will to God. What do you need to give up in order to surrender your will to God? And finally, what am I doing so that those around me can experience God? You do that, that's a full day right there. That'll keep you occupied. But I would hope that maybe in the midst of our chaos, in this sin-darkened world, that we would realize in our hearts that Jesus is God's answer for you and for me. He's not afraid of our brokenness. We are not so dark that God doesn't want to be with us. Emmanuel in and of itself means God with us. He is willing to hang out with us. Let the Christmas lights that you see serve as a reminder of God's grace through Jesus' birth. He comes to us as the God who will and can help us get back on the right path. Pray with me. Dear God, thank you for being with us and giving us that bright, shining light of Jesus to shine brightest when we are at our worst. Please help us to always grow in our appreciation for your holy word. Amen. And now our choir will sing a couple of songs about this wonderful light that shines so brightly. Please follow the instructions on the screens, and you're encouraged to sing along.
Is born of man. shouts his name, oh, glory, glory, glory. He that shouts his name, see within the manger reign, Jesus, Lord of heaven and earth. Mary, Joseph, let your reign. With us sing our Savior's birth. Glory, he that shouts his name, oh, glory, he that shouts his name, angels were singing, angels were singing, angels were singing, angels were singing. They're singing, and that shouts his name. They're singing, and that shouts his name. Joy to the world, the Lord is come. Let earth receive her King. Let every heart prepare in room. And heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing, and heaven and nature sing. Joy to the world, the Savior reigns. Let men their songs adore. While fields and floods, rocks, hills and plains, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy, repeat the sounding joy. No more hardship and sorrows grow, nor thorns infest the ground. He comes to make his blessings flow. Far as the curse is found, far as the curse is found, far as the curse is found. He rules the world with truth and grace, and makes the nations good. The glories of his righteousness, and wonders of his love, and wonders of his love, and wonders of